What if a war thousands of miles away suddenly started hitting Americans where it hurts the most, their wallets? Right now, the growing conflict between the United States and Iran is doing exactly that. As tensions rise in the Middle East, gas prices across America are climbing again, creating a political storm that could reshape the upcoming midterm elections. The conflict escalated after the administration of Donald Trump ordered a series of military operations targeting Iranian-linked infrastructure in the region. Officials argued that the strikes were necessary to protect U.S. interests and stop Iran from expanding its military influence. But wars rarely stay contained. Almost immediately, global oil markets reacted with panic. Traders feared that the conflict could disrupt one of the most critical oil routes on the planet, the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway, located between Iran and Oman, carries roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply. If shipping through this corridor slows down or becomes dangerous, the entire global energy market feels the shock. And that shock is already reaching American gas stations. Oil prices surged past $100 per barrel in early trading after the conflict intensified. Energy analysts say that if the situation continues to escalate, prices could climb even higher in the coming weeks. For American drivers, that means one thing: higher prices at the pump. Across several states, gasoline prices have already started creeping upward. In some areas, drivers are once again seeing numbers that remind them of the energy crises of previous years. For millions of Americans who commute daily, this isn't just a headline. It's a direct hit to their household budgets. And the timing could not be worse politically. The United States is heading toward crucial midterm elections, where control of Congress could shift dramatically. Historically, rising gas prices have been one of the most powerful political forces in American elections. When voters pay more for fuel, they often blame whoever is in power. Opposition lawmakers are already criticizing the administration's strategy, arguing that the military actions risk dragging the country into another long and expensive conflict in the Middle East. Some economists are also warning that if oil prices remain high for months, the effects could ripple through the entire U.S. economy. Higher transportation costs mean higher prices for groceries, shipping, airline tickets, and everyday goods. In short, a conflict overseas could quietly fuel inflation at home. Supporters of President Trump argue that confronting Iran is necessary to maintain stability in the region and protect American allies. They say temporary economic pain is sometimes the cost of long-term security. But critics see the situation very differently. They argue that escalating tensions with Iran could destabilize global markets and damage economic progress. And that debate is now moving from Washington into living rooms, gas stations, and dinner tables across the country. Because when fuel prices rise, politics follows. And the question now is whether this conflict will fade quickly or become a defining issue of the election year. But the biggest political battle may still be ahead. Because rising gas prices are only the beginning. As the conflict between the United States and Iran continues to unfold, the political consequences inside America are becoming harder to ignore. For President Donald Trump, the challenge is balancing national security decisions with the economic realities facing American voters. During recent remarks, Trump downplayed the spike in oil prices, describing it as a temporary disruption that would eventually stabilize. According to the administration, global markets often react dramatically in the early stages of geopolitical crises, but tend to settle once the situation becomes clearer. However, energy analysts are not entirely convinced. Many experts believe that if tensions remain high around the Strait of Hormuz, energy markets could remain volatile for months. Even small disruptions to shipping traffic through that corridor could dramatically reduce global oil supply, and when supply drops, prices usually rise. That creates a difficult political problem for the White House. The administration had previously focused its economic messaging on affordability, highlighting lower inflation rates and economic growth. But if gas prices continue climbing, that message becomes much harder to maintain. History shows that voters often judge economic conditions based on the price they see at the gas pump. It's a simple, visible reminder of the economy's health. Political strategists from both parties understand this. Opposition campaigns are already preparing advertisements linking rising fuel costs to the administration's foreign policy decisions. Meanwhile, supporters of the president argue that strong action against Iran demonstrates leadership and strength on the global stage. They say America cannot allow hostile governments to threaten international shipping routes or destabilize key regions. For many voters, the issue may ultimately come down to a simple question. Is the rising cost of fuel a temporary price for security or an avoidable economic burden created by political decisions? The answer could shape the political landscape heading into the midterm elections. If gas prices stabilize quickly, the issue may fade from the headlines. But if prices continue climbing through the summer and fall, it could become one of the most powerful election issues in the country. For now, Americans are watching two things very closely: the situation unfolding in the Middle East and the numbers glowing on gas station signs across the United States. Because in modern politics, few forces are more powerful than the price of fuel. And sometimes, the road to the ballot box begins at the gas pump.